cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. Oh,
Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Zurishaddai, one of the teachers of Congregation BINAH, BINAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. Thanking the Most High God, creator of heaven and earth, for all things and everything, food, clothing, and shelter, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Thanking the creator for all of your lives. Thanking the creator for continuous blessings. And we pray that the Most High God will continue to be with each and every one of you today. Early Shabbat Shalom to everyone, praying that the creator of heaven and earth will strengthen us, bless us, keep us in good, positive thoughts, and that the Most High God would even answer our prayers that we ask in righteousness. Today, we, giving due respect to the leader of our congregation, even my brother, Chief Prince Jediel Ben Yissaschar, thanking the creator for his life, the life of his family. He was on a journey this past weekend, so I'm praying that the Most High God will bring him and his family back safely from their journey. Also praying that the Most High God will continue to be with Kobe Yisrael scattered in the four corners of the earth. So today, Nasik will be going over, reviewing, highlighting some points in the Sedra Behalotka. I believe he says Behaloteka, but he be going over that, and also going over the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 6. So without any further ado, I pass the mic on to one of my teachers and one of my mentors, even Nasik Zurishaddai Ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
Great, Brutal Hashem. First of all, I'd like to give praises to the Supreme Intelligence of the universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob, and due respect to the platform on the D.C.B channel platform, spiritual leader Chief Prince Yehudah Ben Yissaschar, to the host Chief Uziel, to the princes and chiefs, the Kohanim, the Rabbinate, the Morim, brothers and sisters and visitors to the channel. I greet you all in the tongue of my forefathers, Shalom Aleichem, and the early Shabbat Shalom. And I'd like to say, Adonai Sabtai Ditaku Fiyagi Tilatheaka, O Lord, on my lips, and my mouth should declare that praise. So I'll be highlighting just a few points in Beha'olah Theka, which is, when you light the lights or light the candles, which is, an interesting word and phrase that's used in Hebrew, but I'm not going to be that extensive in it. I'm just going to highlight a few points here and there as we go through the Sidra. And that Sidra starts from the 8th chapter of the book of Numbers, and it concludes at the end of the 12th chapter of the book of Numbers. And as I said, in the book of Numbers, which in Hebrew, Bamidbar, and the shorts I focus on a lot of words and questions, a lot of things, and most are strong, extensive history. While under the leadership of Moses and the leadership of Aaron and the women's under the leadership of Miriam, we have a lot of issues, ups and downs, more tumultuous stuff than within the book of Numbers. So to get a actual picture of what it takes to form a nation, or even just have a decent society. Sometimes just having the laws alone is not enough. Sometimes just having, a belief system in God is not enough. Sometimes just having the leadership is not enough. What it takes is some people to say that I'm going to submit to the will of what is righteous, to what is righteous, to the righteousness, and more so to the will of the Creator. As we look at the Haftorah that goes along with this particular portion, it comes from the book of Zechariah, and it comes from the 2nd chapter, 14th verse, to the 4th chapter, the 7th verse. What is interesting, as we just finished reading about the offerings of the princes that we had for the dedication of the tabernacle. And they enumerate each prince offering individually. We know that normally this comes close to the time of Shavuot, sometimes directly after, depends on what years it is, when we have double sidros. And one interesting thing, at a time when we talk about this particular portion of lighting of the menorah, and it comes right after the offerings of the dedication. And you say, well, what's so extensive about that? And this sidra is often read very close to the time of Shavuot. And Shavuot, which is one of our high pivotal moments in history. And what's remarkable when we think about the high pivotal moments in history in our lives, when we was preparing to meet with the Creator and hear the voice of God, took us several, 50 days basically to reach that point from the Pesach to that particular time. But what's interesting, I find, is that when you get a people getting ready to hear and have an audience with the Creator of heaven and earth, and you get down at the foot of Mount Sinai and you see all the fireworks and the flares and everything that goes on at the stage show, that you would say, wow, we're getting ready to hear something. We're getting ready to hear some deep, phenomenal mysteries about world transcending, all the different mystical things of this universe. We're going to get into the most intricate secrets of things. And then just to hear, I'm Lord thy God, you identify what you want, and hear stuff like, don't steal, honor parents, don't commit adultery, don't have imagery, remember Shabbat. So now when we reach that particular pivotal moment, first of all, we couldn't stand to hear God speak. So his voice and the revelation we had there was so phenomenal. But you would think, if I'm gonna meet with the Creator of heaven and earth, that he's gonna tell me some deep, mysterious stuff about the workings of the universe. How do I deal with all these different elements around? How can I become transcendent? How can I, elevate my spiritual, height beyond what I can imagine now? And to be told, honor your parents, father and mother, don't steal, remember Shabbat, things like that, don't have another image. Don't take the name of the Lord of God in vain. Say, wow, I prepared for that 50-day journey just to get to this point. And then what is that meaning when I'm just dealing with that? But that's another story you could talk about with various teachers, because one of the things I would like to express is that what we want to do is we want to constantly try to ascend. That's what we want to do. We want to know the mysteries to be able to uplift ourselves up the way we see fit. Whereas the Creator is saying at that revelation, if you want to get close to me, then you got to get close to me the way I want you to become close to me, by understanding those particular principles and exercising and practicing those things. That's how you get close to me, not being able to levitate and know some of the deep mysteries of the universe. So that's just one thing I'll just bring out in reference to why this particular portion comes up at this particular time. And then you're saying lighting a menorah after these guys brought up, some phenomenal gifts that's going to be dedicated. Those are going to be a one-time thing. And we read in the beginning. So I'm just going to read a little bit at the beginning of this particular portion. Then I'm going to try to speed through it a little bit. In the 8th chapter, it starts off in saying, "The Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, speak unto Aaron, and say unto him, when thou lightest the lamps, the 7 lamps shall give light in front of the candlestick. And Aaron did so. He lighted the lamps thereof, so as to give light in the front of the candlestick, as the Lord commanded Moses. And this was the work of the candlestick, beaten work of gold, unto the base thereof, unto the flowers thereof. And it was beaten work according to the pattern which the Lord had shown Moses. So he made the candlesticks. Now, I read the opening of that. Now, I want to bring out a viewpoint to pay particular attention. I'm going to go back just a little bit in the 89th verse. 89th verse of the 7th chapter. And it says, and when Moses went into the tent of meeting, that he might speak with him, then he heard the voice speaking unto him from above the ark cover that was upon the ark of the testimony, from between the 2 cherubims, and he spoke unto him. Now, this all at the dedication. After the princes made their dedication, then we hear that Moses, who's not the high priest, hears a voice from God, and he goes in and speaks to God. When Aaron, is the high priest now, he's functioning as the high priest. So now when we think about that, you will say, how Aaron might feel if I'm the priest. This is supposed to be my job. How come God didn't call me to tell me this? Since I'm supposed to be working within the tabernacle itself. I'm supposed to be the guy that's already prepared for this here encounter. Now, my tribe didn't bring anything else, but we're supposed to be caretakers and safeguards for the tabernacle. I'm supposed to make sure that everything is functioning according to God's desire. And yet, on this very day, after the princes had finished, we're talking, 12 days at least, that the menorah is already lit. But he's told Moses to tell me something that I already was taught. That would seem like a very humbling experience. And we notice that if we go through a chronological order, 12 days ago, he had already lost 2 sons. So he's going through this thing for 12 days. So it brings another, concept to think about what's going on here. And then the light, you say, okay, is that so special? Well, this is special enough that God had told Moses to make sure to tell him something again and reiterate it. Now, what we have, and I just leave this question in because I don't want to spend too much time on it. A lot, especially each I would say, I should elaborate more on some of this stuff, but I'm just trying to throw some highlights out there so that people can, discuss it amongst themselves and do their own particular research. I'm just throwing some viewpoints out to consider. Is that the menorah, he's supposed to and keep the light burning, and he's supposed to prepare it, and that lamp supposed to be burned all night. Now we know there's no light bulbs inside the Mishkan. The only light they would technically have is that menorah and those 7 lampstands that's on the menorah, and be reflecting off of maybe the gold and whatnot. So it was a tent. So it wasn't like you had fluorescent lights all the way around. We read the formation of the tent and the draperies and the curtains. When you have some pretty thick draperies, no matter what's gold or anything like that, they're going to kind of darken a particular area. So, Aaron was told to make sure he lighted, and he was told that, that he got to be excited about lighting it. So in other words, he got to be excited about doing this job every single day, preparing it twice a day. And one of the things that he's supposed to make sure that the lamp don't go out at night. Why? What's the significance behind that? One of the things to consider is that if we was in the wilderness, if we're going to travel, which we're going to find later on in this particular portion, that he would travel with the cloud move, we travel in the daytime. If the fire move, we might travel at night. If the cloud might abode in a place a day, a week, a month, or a year. But whenever the cloud move, whether it be by day or by night, they got to get ready and prepare to and disassemble the Mishkan. So can you imagine going in there at night and can't see? You can't see how to operate because he got to cover up the stuff and make sure that the children of Kohath, who are supposed to be able to carry those particular holy items and vessels, are not put to death, where they don't see it. But he got to see it well enough to cover it up. That's one thing to consider. Another thing to consider is this. The job is so important, so sensitive that he's dealing with oil, and this lampstand is a huge in size, a lampstand. So we got pretty much the weight of the lampstand, but we don't an estimated weight, but we don't know the size, the actual size of it. How's what is the actual length and height of it? But it's sizable enough that's in there. And not only that, when we look at the lighting, that he got to be careful not to burn the place down. That's how sensitive this and meticulous this job is. He got to be excited. And when he got to light fire in a place, we got draperies and wood and oil and stuff, he got to be careful about his job, and just that deep that when he walk out, the place is not in danger of being burned down. Also, he got to make sure that the clothes he wear while he's doing all this don't get messed up in soil when he's changing the wicks and setting the oil in place. And then, not only that, he got to make sure that when he light the menorah, that he got to make sure when he light this one, before he light the next one, that one stay lit. You know how it is sometimes when y'all have some people have, different candles, the Hanukkah candles, or they might set up a ambiance on a dinner table, and you light the candle, and then as soon as you walk away to light the next one, that one went out. Well, Aharon, when he had to light the menorah, he had to make sure that when he lit it, that one branch had to stay lit. Now, one of the questions I was discussing, Nishan, I really don't, I'm not, myself, not sure on the answer myself. So I'm making that out there, sending it out there. I know they have a discussion concerning about the Hanukkah candles, which those that observe Hanukkah, and then the menorah that they use there. And they had the school of Hillel that had one way of lighting it, and then the school of Shammah had another way of lighting. Today, the prevalent practices is from the school of Hillel and not the school of Shammah. So that's just with the Hanukkah candle, with the Hanukkah lighting, which comes centuries after the tabernacle was erected. So now, which way will Aharon light the menorah? I haven't seen any solid, positions on it, but we know you like the middle one. But then do you go from right to left or left to right? Or do you do the middle, then you go from right, the first three, and then you go from the left, from the outside, back into the right? And then do you cross over and cause a shadow when you're crossing over from one side to the other side while you're lighting? Or do you ping pong back and forth, in the lighting? So these are some of the things you might, look at and consider how meticulous that job Aharon had. And he had to stay pressed, in order to do it, because he had to hold the garments on. So they'd be dressed a certain way. So can you imagine with something that size, and the responsibility is so great that he must do that every single day of his life. And he got to be enthused to do that. So how often do we say our prayers with the enthusiasm every morning? Sometimes life offers some rough times. And sometimes we might say, okay, I know I got to pray, but I'm not feeling it the way I should feel it today. Aaron could not have that luxury of saying, I'm not feeling in the best of moods today when I got to do my job. He got to also kindle the flame within himself first to be able to kindle the flame in the Mishkan for the service of God the Creator. And that's a lesson that we all must pick up for ourselves. That when we come, some people come to Shabbat because it's Shabbat. I don't want people talking about me. I want to congregate because it's this and that and the other. Or I know I need it. But the thing is, to have that enthusiasm, that zeal to try to come and congregate. Some people come to special Shabbats, as they call it, because certain things going on. But do you have that real zeal that you really want to be there if it wasn't, 1,000 people coming? And then, so Aaron had to develop that. That's one thing I'll speak on just on that part about the Levite. About the menorah. There's so much more, but I just want to highlight that point. And I like to highlight in this particular portion, we got the consecration of the Levites. And Aaron got to consecrate 22,000 Levites. And they shaved. Now we know the beard, when we deal with the beard of you're not supposed to mar your beard. So we put a razor on it. So you have a thing where, if you use like a scissors or clippers, it's not the same as a razor, which is supposed to be destroy the roots. Those are controversial issues in areas like that. According to Darzel, the author of the Zohar, when you look at amongst the most Hasidim, they would rarely ever touch their beard because they consider you got 13 strands of hair within your beard. I don't know which 13 strands they're talking about, but the 13 strands of hair that you have in your beard that will emulate the 13 attributes that Moses seen when he spoke for our forgiveness and after the sin of the golden calf. So therefore, a lot of Hasidim don't even touch their beard. But this is, one of the practices that they may have. But here it is that the Levites had to be shaven from top to bottom. All the hair is cut off. Now, only time you read about anybody getting anything shaven off is basically the Nazarite, in that area. Or a person that had Sara'at, and he had hair in a certain spot, then, you go through a certain thing with that. But, and he got to lift them. Now, how do you lift them? And then would that be a super feat? We know all us that work out to do, 100 push-ups. Some of us have to break it down 10, then go back 10, and then go back 10. Some is fortunate enough to do 100 at a clip. Some had to break it down in 2, might do 50 at a clip. But here it is that Aharon had to lift up each and every Levite collectively. That's a feat. That's a serious feat if you physically lift them up, which it says. Now, the lift up the head, it's not basically saying, putting his hand out and say, rise. It's basically where it is expressed. It's hands-on. And how long would it take to do or lift up 22,000 Levites? Now, the little ones is easy, from 1 month old. That's it. But can you imagine if you had the little ones that you had, a couple hundred of them? And then can you imagine that it's the Levites themselves, that if we divide, the 12 tribes into the total amount of 600,000, plus men of war, and you come up with basically roughly around, 50-some thousand, that if you divide it up amongst just the men from 20 and upward that's able to go to war, that number there is bigger than the whole tribe of the tribe of Levi. So why they wasn't so numerous as the rest of the tribes? And one of the reasons they're given is that it says in the book, the more they was afflicted, the more they multiplied. So there's, according to certain tradition, the Levites wasn't part of the being worked to death like that at that particular point in time during Egypt. But that's another story. So let me just move on to another area that I want to bring out. That you have a retirement age in this particular portion. And when we talk about a retirement age in this particular portion, which is in the 8th chapter, starting from the 23rd verse, age of service, you have an age of service, and then when you retire. So one of the things, so you have several counts where the Levites are basically counted about 5 different times. But retire at 50, and then, when you retire at 50, or 50 years of service, and this is dealing with the tabernacle. Now, mind you, a guy is only serving 20 years, basically, if he started at 30, because they had 25, and then they always say 25 is the age of the apprenticeship, and 30 is when they actually do the job, because you want to make sure when you do that job that you're doing it correctly, where it don't cause you a fatality. So if you didn't get it in 5 years, learn how to do the job properly in 5 years, and that job ain't meant for you. But 30 to 50 is 20 years service. After 20 years of service, at 50, then you supervise. So we really don't have a thing for retiring like we think of, like a person finishes working, manual work, whatever the case is, and he just goes off to the pasture. No, he got to still have an active role in the community. And this is what's stressed here in this particular point. If you go into the 9th chapter, I'd like to bring out about the Passover. And it says in the 9th chapter, and the Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the 1st month of the 2nd year after they were come out of the land of Egypt, saying, let the children of Israel keep the Passover in its appointed season in the 14th day of this month at dusk. You shall keep it in its appointed season, according to all the statutes of it, and according to all the ordinances thereof, shall you keep it. All right. And Moses spoke unto the children of Israel that they shall keep the Passover. And they kept the Passover in the 1st month, on the 14th day of the month, at dusk, in the wilderness of Sinai, according to all the Lord commanded Moses. So did the children of Israel. But there were certain men who were unable, who were unclean by the dead body of a man. So they could not keep the Passover on that day. And it came before Moses and before Aaron on that day. And those men said unto him, we are unclean by the dead body of a man. Wherefore are we to be kept back, so as not to bring the offering of the Lord in its appointed season among the children of Israel? And Moses said unto them, stay ye, that I may hear what the Lord will command concerning you. Now, we got the institution of a second Passover. and I'm not going to read everything in reference to that, but I want to bring out some points here that to consider. Is that why was this question asked? And this is just 2 days after the last prince and brother's offering that the creators, have them observe the Passover, and this is only the first one outside of the land of Egypt that they must observe. And why is that? And they was focused on that more so than anything else. And the only time we have a second observance of any day is only Pesach. We don't have a second observance of Shavuot. We don't have a second observance of Yom Teruah. We don't have a second observance of Yom Kippur or Sukkot or any of those things like that, that we, at the appointed times. So why is it so important for these guys to, to think about, saying, okay, I'm out. I'm unclean by the dead. And then unclean by the dead, how? What was the casualties? So sometimes they would say, he had some comments, but, I tend to lean to a different viewpoint. That, that is either from they haven't really went through the process with Nadab and Abihu, and they getting the law, the red heifer later. Some people would look at that view there. I don't tend to focus on that view there. I tend to focus on another view. And one of the views I like to focus on is this. When they left Egypt, Moses had the bones of Joseph. But yet, when he had the bones of Joseph, and plus we had the sin of the golden calf a while back, so people had to be cleaned up between the sin of the golden calf and purified and everything like that there for, when they got the second set of tablets and he started working on the Mishkan itself. But the bones of Joseph, Moses didn't walk around with him. He didn't keep him with it, and he just made sure that he was responsible for bringing it out of Egypt. The bones of Joseph is being caretaken by somebody of that tribe, the tribe of Ephraim. It might be the tribe of Manasseh. It might be back and forth. But we know that it was buried in the territory of Joseph later on. And it's credited by the children of Israel for bringing it there. But when we look at that particular point in time, that maybe somebody's duty is this month week to watch over the body. The next guy might have another week to watch over the body of Joseph. So, but whatever the case is, it's not about a person just dying there in that particular year. Because what we find here, we have in the first page talk, and I always tend to focus on that everybody had to be circumcised. Only the children that was born in the wilderness was not circumcised. So just my deduction is that no one was born within that first year in the travel. Next, I'd like to bring out a point is that if they had the bones of Joseph, if they was dealing with the Nadab and Abihu, they had more than enough time to clean up before Pesach. Now, the two cousins, Eliphaz and Mishael, they had more than enough time to clean up. So now we have these guys that's unclean by the reason of the death of a man. So that means right then and there that somebody's going to be constantly unclean when dealing with that. Now, out of all the other days we participate in, we make a participation, in all the days, some fashion or form, but, we had, contribute to it. But when it comes down to the Pesach, we don't have anything that we did to deserve our redemption other than the promise that God kept. So as a form of gratitude, and these guys want to say, well, why can't I show that I'm grateful for what God did for me? as well. So hence, why did God wait so long? Sometimes you got to ask, God, you know what I need, so I don't need to pray. God would like to hear you say something. If you know what you need, then open your mouth and say something about it. A lot of times people look to say, well, all right, you can see what I need. You can see my condition. I don't see why, so I don't need me speaking about it, asking people this and that and the other. No, you must speak up. The Creator wanted us some people to speak up about it. So this is the only thing, and it's so important that the attitude of gratitude about Passover, that you read about Passover observance in the scriptures amongst the children of Israel more than any other holy day ever in the scriptures. Read a bit about that. And the observance as community, collectively. So now when we think about that, the attitude of gratitude, this is what's important. And it was important to those men that the Creator said, all right, in the second month, they have an institution of a Pesach, but they don't have an institution of a CHOKMAH, a feast of unleavened bread. They don't have that, though. The guys would keep it in the second month. If you're on a journey, unclean by the dead, then you sacrifice the Lord Passover in the second month, and in the second month itself. So they got to wait a while. They got to get cleaned up, and they should be waiting a while, preparing for that particular time. They don't have to clean out the leaven from their houses. They don't have to eat unleavened bread for the 7 days. All they do is make sure when they offer up the sacrifice that they followed prescribed rules for that particular sacrifice, eating it with, bitter herbs, unleavened bread, and the lamb. That's it. Once they did that and make sure the lamb is, nothing left to the morning. Once they did that particular process, it's over with. They're done. And that's what the second Pesach is, and referred to more so as Pesach Sheni. All right. So we read about the cloud, and after that, and what I like to bring out is that on the 15th verse, and I'm gonna try to speed this up just a little bit. On the day that the tabernacle was reared up, the cloud covered the tabernacle, even the tent of the testimony, and even there was upon the tabernacle, as it was, the appearance of fire until morning. So it was always, the cloud covered it, and the appearance of the fire by night. And whenever the cloud was taken up from the tent, then after the children of Israel journeyed, and in the place where the cloud abode, there the children of Israel encamped. At the command of the Lord, the children of Israel journeyed. And at the command of the Lord, they encamped. As long as the cloud abode upon the tabernacle, they remained encamped. And when the cloud tarried upon the tabernacle many days, then the children of Israel kept the charge of the Lord and journeyed not. And sometimes the cloud was a few days or upon the tabernacle, according to the command of the Lord, they remained encamped. And according to the command of the Lord, they journeyed. And sometimes the cloud was from evening until morning. And when the cloud was taken up in the morning, they journeyed. Or if it continued by day and by night, when the cloud was taken up, they journeyed. So that means, and whether it was 2 days or a month or a year, they tarried upon the tabernacle, abiding thereon, the children of Israel remained in camp. All right, so that's important. All right, so we got that part there, and we're going to go to about 2 trumpets, which is interesting. They got 2 particular trumpets, and they give you a sign. Said the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Make the 2 kasarot, which is trumpets, of silver, a beating work. Thou shalt thou make them, and they shall be unto thee for the calling of the congregation, and for the causing of the camps to set forward. And when you should blow with them all, and the congregation gathered themselves unto thee at the door of the tent of meeting. And if they blow with but one, when the princes of the heads of the thousands of Israel shall gather themselves unto thee." Now, I'm not going to read everything on this here because I'm watching my watch a little bit. And one of the things is that when we talk about the silver trumpets, that's not the same as shofar. So we think about the shofar and we think about Yom Teruah, but we get the sounds that we're supposed to make from this particular chapter here, in the book of Numbers, in this particular section of Numbers. The different sounds that it's talking about, the teruah or the tekiyahs and all that kind of stuff. We get those sounds from this particular portion here. And unlike the shofar, the trumpets is only blown by the priests. So they hold the instruments. So one of the things is that we're getting into a stage and getting ready to make a move. And when we get ready to make a move, one of the things we find in this particular portion, which is so much going on in this particular portion, is that we have that the trumpet itself is almost like making Moses a king. You read later on, it said there was a king in Yeshua. When we read when we had Shavuot during Mount Sinai, you heard the horns waxing louder and louder and louder, and the show working the fire, heralding the king. So you got the entourage of the host coming around. So whatever they saw there, it was a phenomenal sight at Mount Sinai. So it is when they talk about there was a king in Yeshua, which is a poetic, metaphorical name, a symbolic name for Israel, which means upright. God is allowing Moses to get the fame as a king in Israel, as a leader in Israel. And this is important because it's building up a particular stage here about leadership, and which is today we have a lot of problems with leadership. And we know also you're supposed to blow it on their holy days, their fast days, when they journey, when they call the people together. So we move now. Then we move from Egypt. We move out of Egypt, march, and yet we don't know what was the order we marched until God told us where we're going to stand, where Judah going to stand, his standard bearers, where Reuben would be with his, with his companions, where Ephraim going to be with his companions, where Dan would be with his companions. We don't see that prior to this particular point in time in the book, until they actually say where they're going to be in camp and how they move out. So now we know where they camped at. How we're going to disassemble the ark. We know we're supposed to disassemble the Mishkan and travel forward. Since we're supposed to travel forward, what will be the marching orders? And how would you disassemble? So it's an order that's being prescribed here. And Moses, is actually acting as the actual king in this particular order, thing, when he had the shofars blown up, because it's at the command of Moses that he lead. Though he don't blow them, is at his command, that the sound of the trumpet is supposed to be heralded out. And, so therefore we had a structure of traveling. And then, Dan was brought in the back to carry, everything in the back. But you had the camp move out, Judah pulls out, that when the cloud moved, the Levites started to, disassemble the tabernacle. But we know how things have traveled, and then we know when they get to the spot, the tabernacle is assembled first. The ark is the last thing to be brought in the tabernacle. So we get a lot of information here. I know I'm going pretty fast in it, but when you pay attention to the marching orders and how is it disassembled and how is it assembled, you get a more unique picture of structure and travel. This is the first time we are told how to travel as a nation and a unit that's supposed to be an emissary for the creator of heaven and earth, right here. So this is important. And then it says, and even on our days when we're not traveling, that's when trumpets supposed to be blown there. So when we talk about Yom Teruah, it has a different meaning completely, compared to what we see right here. It's a different meaning. But that's another story. But I want to go to the 11th verse right quick. And it said, and it came to pass in the 10th chapter, 11th verse, and it said, and it came to pass in the second year, in the second month, on the 20th day of the month, that a cloud was taken up from over the tabernacle of the testimony. And the children of Israel set forward by their stages out of the wilderness of Sinai, and the cloud abode in the wilderness of Paran. And they took their first journey according to the commandments of the Lord by the hand of Moses, and in the first place the standard of the camp of the children of Judah set forward according to their host. And over his host was Nachshon, right, etc. Okay, so what did you know? That we got an idea when we left Egypt how long we stayed at Mount Sinai without busting a move. Excuse me, without making a move, without making a move. You know what I mean? We stayed at Mount Sinai for a year. You know, after we got there, after we got there, we messed up. We was there, a year and change from the Exodus, because we got the exact date when we were making our first move after the building of the tabernacle, after the dedication, after the institution of a second Pesach. Now, God said, okay, you're ready to move forward. And this is important to keep in mind as we get into the next Sidra. You know what I mean? That, the plan was you're prepared. You're duly and truly prepared with the stuff. You're equipped, I should say. You're really, truly equipped to begin this real journey forward. All right. So that's the bear in mind when you go into the next Sidra, from this point on. But we had the exact time. We don't know about the other different travels, exactly how long we stayed here, exactly how long we stayed there. But we know this first stop, we know exactly how long we was hanging around Mount Sinai. Now, we might have, circled back a couple of times, but we know how long we stayed there, and it's the first stop. And then I'm going to skip on down to the 29th verse, the 10th chapter, and said, and Moses said unto Hobab, the son of Reuel, the Midianite, Moses' father-in-law. All right. So now this is the second time we read about Moses' father-in-law from the time of Shemot. We're going to have another couple of people names that come in here that we didn't hear about since Shemot at this particular time. All right. But what's interesting is that we are journeying unto the place in which the Lord said, I will give it to you. Come thou with us, and we will do thee good. For the Lord has spoken good concerning Israel. And he said unto him, I will not go, but I will depart to my own land and to my kindred. And he said, leave us not, I pray thee, for as much as thou knowest how we are to encamp in the wilderness, and thou shalt be to us instead of eyes. And it shall be, if thou go with us, yea, it shall be that what good soever the Lord shall do unto us, the same will we do unto thee. All right. Now you figure, why point to his father-in-law? They seemed like the father-in-law and Moses had a closer relationship than Moses did with his wife. But that's something, you could, look into a little bit better, because now you got Moses to command that everything functioning, and yet he looking for his father-in-law to be an inspiration to the nation. Now that's strange coming from a man like Moses, but these is, some of the things that when we think about our leaders and heroes, that they have their weak moments. They have their very weak moments sometimes. And then we goes on and skip on about the complaint. Let's go into 11. Just two more points I want to bring, because Ecclesiastes is kind of short. It said, and Moses said to the Lord, they complain about me. Okay, well, let me just focus on a couple of things, and I might have skipped a little bit. Because people started murmuring, we know when fire came out and burn among them. So we know that fires come out 6 times in the book from God, 6 for good, 6 for bad. I spoke on it in the past, but I just want to speak about the 4th verse and 11th chapter. And the mixed multitude that were among them fell a lusting, and the children of Israel also wept on their part and said, what shall we, would that we were given flesh to eat. Remember the fish which we were wont to eat in Egypt for naught, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks, and the onions and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all. We have not save this manna to look to. And they go to describe the manna, in its proportion. So, and then skip down to the 10th verse. And Moses heard the people weeping, family by family, every man at the door of his tent. And the anger of the Lord was kindled greatly, and Moses was displeased. And Moses said unto the Lord, wherefore hast thou dealt ill with thy servant? And wherefore have I not found favor in thy sight, that thou layest the burden of all this people upon me? Have I conceived all this people? Have I brought them forth, that thou shouldest say unto me, carry them in thy bosom, as a nursing father carrieth the suckling child, unto the land which thou didst swear unto their fathers? When should I have flesh to give unto all this people? For they trouble me with their weeping, saying, give us flesh that we may eat. I am not able to bear all this people myself alone, because it is too heavy for me. And if thou dealt with me, kill me, I pray thee, out of thy hand, if I have found favor in thy sight, and let me not look upon my wretchedness. All right. I read that because of the thing is that leaders can have breakdowns. Moses had a breakdown. Israelites taking a part of the mixed multitude. And when they took the part of the mixed multitude at that particular time, you wonder, did they think they was doing good, looking out for somebody else's welfare? And then we know the manna was a beautiful looking thing, because that's why they describe it right after this again, in this particular portion. And when it describes it, it would pretty much, you could, eat it plain, cook it, bake it, fry it, whatever you want to do with it. But it would taste like mostly anything according to tradition, but obviously it didn't taste like those items that they mentioned, which is the fish, the leeks, the onion, and the garlic. If they missed that, I only could surmise it must didn't taste like those items over there that they missed. And then they wasn't getting anything free. They had to work for it. And then why you let the mixed multitude, the outsider, influence you how to come against your leader, and against God, and show a lack of appreciation for what God did for you. You asked for bread, you were satisfied with it for a year now. A year you were satisfied with it. And yet all of a sudden now it's a problem because somebody else starts speaking. So, sometimes, remind you the job is done, movement's getting ready to move. You're going to have a lot of friction in the movement, going forward. All right, so we know Moses had a breakdown. We know automatically they get, God said, look, they're going to eat it for a month. They're going to come out their nostrils. We know all about that. We know about that Moses, God said, look, I'm going to take your spirit and part of your spirit and put them on 70 elders. We know that. The 70 elders, we know about 2 of them that stayed in the camp, Eldad and Medad, that prophesied in the camp. There was 70 elders. And these elders was named. And we know we don't see their recorded name in the book, but they was called by God for Moses' spirit to be upon them to bear the burden of the people. Now, it's a difference between these elders and the elders you read about previously, because these elders now are a different set of elders that will have the spirit of Moses put upon them, as opposed to the other elders. That means, you had an elder from the particular tribes, you had the particular elders of tribes, but you had a unique amount of elders here that's qualified to have Moses' spirit drop on them for a unique job. So, every area of elder is not good for all kind of jobs. All right, and we know they got quail and stuff like that. I'm just going to pick up this last little point here with Miriam. I figure I don't want to leave this point here out. We know they got quail and everything like that. We know God, wound up killing some of them, while the still was between their teeth. Gluttony. All right. But that's the last portion of it, the 12th chapter. It said, and Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Cushite woman whom he had married. For he had married a Cushite woman, and they said, hath the Lord indeed spoken only with Moses? Hath he not spoken also with us? And the Lord heard it. Now the man Moses was very meek above all the men of the earth that were upon the face of the earth. And the Lord spoke suddenly unto Moses and unto Aaron and to Miriam, come ye three unto the tent of meeting. And they said, and they three came out. And the Lord came down in a pillar of cloud and stood at the door of the tent and called Aaron and Miriam. And they both came forth. And he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, do make myself known unto him in a vision. I do, in a vision. I do speak with him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so. He is trusted in all my house. With him do I speak mouth to mouth, even manifestly, and not in dark speeches. In the similitude of the Lord doth he behold. Wherefore, then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant and against my servant against Moses? And the angel of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. And when the cloud was removed from over the tent, behold, Miriam was leprous, as white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. And Aaron said unto Moses, O my Lord, lay not, I pray thee, sin upon us, for that we have done foolishly, and for that we have sinned. Let her not, I pray thee, be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed, when he cometh out of his mother's womb. And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, heal her now, O Lord, I beseech thee. Now we know how it ended there. She had to stay out of camp for 7 days. What I want to bring out, I was talking with my son, Prince Benaiah, for a minute, and we're going to, and when I was speaking to him, one of the question was, he said, well, who do you think was the smartest man, the most smartest man in the whole Tanakh, other than Solomon? So I took a moment, I said, and I had to smile. I said, well, if I had to choose, I would say Adam, and then I would say Moses. So, so he said, well, why would you put, he said, I could go along with that. Now, other people might have other choices. I'm just sharing a conversation I had with my son. And because we tend to talk scriptures almost every single day. So, he said, I could see Solomon, but how you put Adam before Moses when Moses spoke with God? And he said, he the only one spoke with God, mouth to mouth. So I said, did you read what it says? I brought him to this particular portion here. That's why I'm sharing with you, and you can have your thoughts on it. And I brought him to this particular portion. I said, didn't God mention about a prophet? I said, the first time you read about a term prophet is when he mentioned about Abraham. So since you only read about the term prophet with Abraham, God said, if there's a prophet among you, talking about a prophet, this is what he do with visions or a dream. He said he spoke with Moses differently. You think Adam was a prophet? Adam heard the voice of God walking in the cool of the day. Adam communicating with God. I said, and not only that, even Cain, he communicate with God and has some questions. I said, and that's it. And look at Enoch. He traveling with God for 300 years before God, took him. So what about the guy Noah? He gives all these details about what's going on. It couldn't be no visions or dreams. It had to be clear cut that this is going to go down. You need to get prepared. It's not something you figure out. When we look at the prophecy, even the prophets don't recognize and understand some of the stuff in their vision, such as this particular situation that's coming up. What mean is this? What mean is that? So I said, that if you're going to say, well, some of the most intelligent guys, I would say, I choose that, we go to have discrepancies about, that, which is, I'd say Adam, because he's made by God, hands on, breathed in the breath of life, hands on. God entrusted him to name creatures that he had never seen before, hands on, and also he went to a sleep operation, was able to name the female, hands on. So I said that takes a lot of intelligence. God didn't trust a man to be overseer of this whole planet. So I said a lot of intelligence. But I said, but to caution him, I said, because we were, I was talking to somebody else yesterday, and they said that well, Solomon couldn't have been so wise when he had all the women, but we read in Jeremiah, let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, because that ain't enough to save you. And Jeremiah lived a few centuries after Solomon, so he know that wisdom alone won't save an individual. So we're gonna go into the book of Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter. And I'm going to be pretty fast. There's only a few verses in it. Ecclesiastes 6th chapter. Excuse me. Ecclesiastes 6th chapter. There's only a few verses in there, so I'm not going to be that long.
We're in the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 6, verse 1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, that it is heavy upon men. A man to whom God giveth riches, wealth, and honor, so that he wanteth nothing for his soul of all that he desireth, yet God giveth him not power to eat thereof, but a stranger eateth it. This is vanity, and it is an evil disease.
Wow. How many people we know that? We see even some movies like that. A person so wealthy, they're frail and broke, but they could buy the world just about. Got more money than they that could bury them for years, but yet they can't enjoy none of that. Solomon said, not something I'm making up. This is some things I had even seen, So he's talking about eyewitness accounts without calling names, So let's go on to the next word. What it says here in 3.
Verse 3, it reads, if a man beget 100 children and live many years, so that the days of his years are many, but his soul have not enough of good, and moreover he have no burial, I say that an untimely birth is better than he. For it cometh in vanity.
Hold it before we go there. Untimely birth is better than he. That was Solomon said. All right. You got a bunch of kids, nobody cares nothing about you. You can't bury yourself. Everybody on the planet going to depend on somebody to take care or do something with their remains. You could ask, you could even try to purchase, but there's no guarantee. And that's why Solomon said untimely birth is better than that individual who went through life, produced in life, and yet have no one to really care about him when his life is spent. Now that's a vain. And what I like about Kohelet, it's not just Solomon making up these scenarios in his head. These are things that he's in. We read where he said he's seen sore evils and stuff like that under the sun. So he had eyewitness account. He could call names if necessary. Continue. 4th verse.
Verse 4, it reads, for it cometh in vanity and departeth in darkness, and the name thereof is covered with darkness. Moreover, it have not seen the sun nor known it. This have gratification rather than the other.
Okay, right then and there, because he didn't experience it. Stillbirth didn't experience all that problems. All right, continue. 6.
Verse 6, it reads, yea, though he live 1,000 years twice told, and enjoy no good, do not all go to one place? All the labor of man is for his mouth, and yet the appetite is not filled.
And that's something we read every day. Every day. Twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. And sometimes say, well, I think I might take me a little snack before I go to bed. I know I might do that. I might watch a little in a TV or something like that, or sitting up late, and I say, I think I give me a little piece of cake and a little juice and stuff like that there, just to curb my appetite. But I'm going to bed. Must say I'm gonna curb my appetite. All right. So this is something we do. All right. So on 8th verse.
Verse 8, it reads, for what advantage hath the wise more than the fool, or the poor man that have understanding and walking before the living? Better is the seeing of the eyes than the wandering of the desire, This also is vanity and a striving after wind.
Right, because your desire is hard to keep in check. But what you see, you can close your eyes if you don't want to see it anymore. You could turn away from it. And so Solomon said a lot of times, just looking at things, you can look at a beautiful woman and say, okay, she's beautiful, but they ain't the type I want, But your desire, now that supersedes and people act on it. We used to have a saying in BINAH, wherever the mind summons, the flesh going to manifest it. So you have such a strong desire, they're going to cause a problem, because a lot of times we're going to act upon it eventually, if we entertain, certain wicked thoughts or any desire, rather, one way or the other. Now, you can have a good, laudable desire, but and that could work in that area as well. All right, let's pick it up in the 10.
Verse 10, it reads, whatsoever cometh into being, the name thereof was given long ago. And it is foreknown what man is. Neither can he contend with him that is mighty than he.
Okay, all right, right in there. First of all, they had that saying, your arms are too short to box with God, and and we always think we renaming something. Like we the first one to see this, the first one to experience it. Some things, but yet we still digging up artifacts and say, wow, we didn't know they knew about this, and we didn't know they knew about that. We constantly digging up artifacts for different civilizations. So the thing is that if we find out that we ain't the first to know this and first to do that, and said, neither can we contend with God, but that don't stop us from contending with God. But Solomon telling you that it's going to be a waste of time. It's going to be a waste of time. But though it's a waste of time, some of us feel good to contend with God. Some people just say, I just want to just create some problems. Whatever the case is, we have mindsets like that. Continue.
Verse 11, it reads, seeing there are many words that increase vanity, what is man the better? For who knoweth what is good for man in his life? All the days of his vain life which he spendeth as a shadow. For who can tell a man what shall be after him under the sun? Hallelujah.
All right then and there. So that lets you know right then and there. As I said, it would be a short chapter, for Heli, but right then and there, that's constantly repeated, throughout the various points in the book, for Heli. What's going to be after me under the sun? Who's going to tell me that? What's going on? Sometimes you wonder if your children were going to still be successful, or you're going to wonder that child that was a problem. Is he still going to be a problem, or did he make a change? Some people make a change and certain people leave out their life and, for the better. And some people make a change for the worse. So Solomon bringing all these things to the forefront, because what happens is a man always wondering, was my life well spent? Did I really get the best out of my life? Especially when we have all these desires, and that's why I said it's better to wonder in the eyes than to wonder at the desire, because sometimes you got to say, am I blessed? Not a lot of times we say count the blessings. So I hope you got something out of what I said. I know it took a little while in the Sidra. There was so much stuff to be looked at upon and within that Sidra. And those that we look at the Torah. And one of the things, just one point in the Sidra is when we talk about Midbar, there's a prayer, in book the 10th chapter, the 36th verse. Those that be in the synagogue is a term when we're ready to move out. I this morning drop that, lead that there. When it says, when Aaron was set out, Moses would say, arise, O God, may your enemies be scattered, and those who hate you flee before you. That's what they say, and that's in this particular book, in the book of Numbers that we just read. Well, I didn't read it directly today, but it's in the book. That's why I gave the verse, 10th chapter, the 35th verse to the 36th verse. And those, and that's what's said in the synagogue. every time they take out the Torah scroll, they say that, you know, where they would say, you know, why you hear a song, how to, you know, when your man Moshe. Then you say, Kuma Adonai, where you fusu ve'aka, you know, when nusu means eka, means paneka. That's what they would say there. And then when it returned, this part here, when the Aaron came to rest, he would say, return of God to the many thousands, you know, which is, you know, Shuba Adonai, Ribabo, Alafei, Yisrael. So now when we look at that particular action area there, the first one we can understand clearly is always the debate about the second one in the second verse, you know, and it's because we know if we moving and create a movement, say anybody don't like God, get out the way, get rid of him, scatter them. We don't want no fight. We don't want no smoke. And then if we come back, it's always different views on the second one. How's that interpreted? You know, because if we got the ark, you know, we were putting the ark back where the cloud has stood, the tabernacle record where the cloud has stood. We just read that in this particular sidra. Then we got to say, well, if God is here, why should I be worried about the 1,000 coming back? Did we have some casualties? Did we lose some people on the way? Did everybody didn't make it on the travel? Well, we know through history, the count that we left Egypt with is different from the count when we got ready to go into the land. I'll just leave it at that. So I hope you got some of what I said. Any mistakes been our own, and I have said Shalom Aleichem, and early Shabbat Shalom.
Hallelujah. Torah about Nasik. May the Most High God bless each and every one of you. May everyone have a great Shabbat sleep, and everyone have a great Shabbat day. Don't forget Charlotte during the July 4th weekend on the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, all events. The 6th being the culminating event that's going to be Shabbat, Unity Shabbat Kavod down in Charlotte, North Carolina. So you know who to get in contact with down there. Get in contact with them. They're also having a concert and a bazaar on the 5th. And on the 4th, it's a dinner, a day dinner. So please, everyone, just get in contact and let the people know, and hopefully we'll all meet each other down there. Shalom, shalom, and everyone have a great day. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders.